The first great step or great leap on the road to communism is seizing power from the capitalists. Without that, none of this is possible. But seizing power from them opens the way to making the advance to communism. Socialism is the new society established after the seizure of power. Socialism is three things: a new economic system, a new political system, and a transition to the final goal of communism. Let's talk about what this will make possible right away once power has been seized. Let's talk about the whole different nature of socialism as a society in which the masses of people are digging up the old, rotten, and putrid soil of capitalism and moving forward to the goal of a communist world. Let's imagine, in health care, instead of going to a doctor or a hospital if you can afford it, being insulted from the time you get there, being treated as if you don't belong there, being talked down to and acted as if you don't even understand your own body and your own health conditions, being discriminated against if you're a certain nationality or if you're a woman, being treated like you're maybe not sophisticated to understand what's really going on here. Instead of being told, we're sorry, you need a treatment, but you don't have the money to pay for it. Imagine if, because we had a whole different society where the wealth were not only created, but were controlled and managed by the people, health care for basic necessities were free, and health care for everything else were very cheap, and if you couldn't pay it right away, they let you pay it over time. And imagine more than that, if you went to the hospital and the staff, and not just the nurses, but even the doctors sat down with you and treated you like a human being and said, tell me about... And if they didn't, other people there would get on them and say, what's wrong with you? That's the old way things used to be. We got a new way here. Imagine if they asked you about your history or about your children and what your concerns were. Imagine if they thought your opinion and your view of things and your understanding of things actually mattered. But let's imagine more than that. Imagine if people like you from the neighborhood were part of a committee together with the staff and the doctors and the administrators who actually ran the hospitals and the health care clinics. And your opinion, when your input was drawn on all the time. Imagine if the doctors actually got together with the staff people and discussed things from their point of view. What are you seeing about how this hospital could be run better? How can we give better care to the patients? How can we take better care of people's needs? Let's talk about work. Imagine, first of all, that you actually wanted to go to work. Imagine instead of being treated basically like an animal, being bossed around, treated as if all you were there for was to bend your back, that you had no idea about how things ought to be, that you couldn't contribute anything, that you had no ideas that were worth anything, that you were just always trying to get out of everything and do as little as you could, which of course you are under the capitalist system. But imagine if the conditions were changed so that weren't what you were doing. Imagine if you wanted to contribute. Imagine if your opinion were actually valued. Imagine if the character of work changed. Imagine if you knew when you produced something that it was for the good of the people, that it was helping the people's health needs or their needs for housing or their needs for textbooks for education that really told the truth. Imagine if besides that you were actually drawn into the administration of the place where you worked. If people like you chose representatives to be part of the committee running that place, together with the people who more full-time administered and the managers. Imagine if the administrators and the manager actually came down and worked with you some hours during the week and talked with you and saw the situation from where you were. Imagine if you held discussions where you worked and larger discussions among representatives of people about what was all this work for? What are we producing this for? How is this going to help the people in society? How can we support the struggle of the people throughout the world better through what we're producing through our work? Imagine if that were what work is like.